views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Good evening and welcome to Bronx Talk. Bronxites have an independent entrepreneurial spirit, especially with the economy the way it's been over the last several years. Many Bronxites are turning to their own resourcefulness to create businesses and livelihoods for themselves and their families. On tonight's show, we'll do a bit of a test case with a Bronxite who has started her own coffee business. But despite the fact that she's marketed and sold her product and gotten some attention in the Bronx, she's not quite where she wants to be yet. And we'll talk about where that is and what it will take to get her there. Also, we've never done this on the show before, we're going to have some coffee here and do a fun little taste test and maybe have our own coffee break right here live on the air. We're on tape tonight, so there won't be phone calls. Happy holidays to all my Jewish friends who will be celebrating Rosh Hashanah tonight and tomorrow. But if you do send us comments or anything on anything you hear on the program, then send them in an email to bronxtalk@bronxnet.org or post them on the Bronx Talk Facebook page, and we'll read them on the air during a future edition of the program. Now, for the here and now, the creator of Morris Perk. Let me get the little logo here. Morris Perk. That's right, Morris Perk. Lavi Pignata, good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
Great.
It's nighttime, but we're going to still have coffee anyway. We'll pretend it's a morning. It's a morning show. We'll have our coffee break. So tell me about Morris Perk and what it is, how it got where we are, and where is it at?
Absolutely. Morris Perk. I worked in home automation, a high-end boutique company.
Home automation.
Home automation.
I don't even
where you
know
can
what
call
that
up your
means.
elevator with your iPhone. Where you
Wow.
can control your lights, where you can, see security, you can, turn up the music in the dining room when you're having a cocktail party.
Wow.
A different clientele than I have today.
From Morris Perk.
Yes.
Okay.
I was in the industry for 12 years with one company. I changed companies and was laid off 5 months later. So once I was laid off, I thought back to a favorite job, and it was serving coffee. It just didn't pay the bills. So I thought if I created my own company, then I could pay the bills.
Just like what I just described, that people are saying, you know what, that's not working out for me. This is America. I want to try and do it. So how long has Morris Perk been around, and where is it at?
I've been incorporated since March of 2014. I started a little before then. That was, one of the steps of...
About a year and a half, year and
Yes.
2/3.
So, at first I didn't have I have a location in mind. It needed, needed rezoning, and it needed a lot of work.
So you don't have that's really what I was suggesting at the outset, that you don't have a store yet.
I don't have a brick and mortar.
Right. So she's moving it around town like here on TV shows.
Yes.
So you have a place in mind.
Yes, I do.
But what have you been doing in the meantime to really launch the thing? And you've done a good job. I've read about it. We've seen it in different places.
Thank
What
you.
have you been doing?
I just started popping up. And by popping up, I mean just traveling around with coffee and serving coffee at different events, different local businesses, and collaborating with other businesses maybe that are more established, or, just working together with 501Cs.
Well, so wherever you had a chance to do it,
Yes,
you do
wherever
it.
I could serve coffee.
I'm unfamiliar with this. Obviously, we all know the great, large coffee chains. Are there other pop-up coffee businesses? Did you model this over anything?
I
or
didn't
did you,
model it over.
You just said, hey, I got an idea. Let me move around.
I'm going to serve some coffee.
And you move around the Bronx
Yes.
specifically? Do you go
Only
to
the Bronx.
Only the Bronx?
Only the Bronx.
Yay. How'd you come up with the name Morris Perk?
Morris Perk.
Obviously, duh. No, but really, I mean, I guess there were some other options. Right?
Yes, my location is technically in Pelham Parkway, or Pelham Parkway as now.
Okay.
But
Or
Morris,
could be Pelham Perk.
yes, yes. But Morris Perk just had a better ring to it. But I've
Okay.
gotten some flack that, my final location won't be in
Morris
Park.
Park itself. Oh.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
stop, folks. Relax.
Yes.
Come
that
on.
was Bob Abrams' complaint.
Really?
Yes.
Bob Abrams, specifically Bob Abrams.
Yes.
Former Attorney General.
Yes.
Now, why? What is his relationship to Morris
The
Perk?
location I'm vying for is a corner on the corner. It's Holland and Anton Place.
Okay.
It's part of the co-op where I live.
Okay.
And it's been empty for over 30 years.
So it's
And
like a storefront or
yes,
something?
a beautiful corner storefront in a Tudor-style 1934 building.
Right.
And it's been unoccupied since Bob Abrams' parents closed their luncheonette there. It used to be called Ben's Luncheonette.
I see. And does he still have interest in it, just out of curiosity?
I've spoken to him a few times. He doesn't like Morris Perk as a name.
Who asked you?
So
I like it. Gary likes it.
So when he told me that, I said, well, I'll put it out to a vote to the public, and I'll host a pop-up on the corner outside the storefront, even though, I don't have everyday access to it. And we did a food drive to see what the name would be. So we had 2 wheelbarrows. If you donated food to one, that was a vote for Pelham Perk. The other one was for Morris Perk, and Morris Perk won.
For people who start local businesses, and many whom I talk to, and I hear about this all the time, and you just given us a very clear example of it, it's the local stores that contribute to the Little Leagues. It's the local stores that do the food drives. It's the small pop-up businesses. That's kind of an interesting twist, because you would figure it's the large stores that actually have more wherewithal, but it's people like you and other entrepreneurs who say, well, this is my community, I want to do this right. I guess I'm not asking a question, but I'm just saying, so your commitment not only is to selling coffee, but using this as kind of a community thing.
Yes, it started out as not a selfish endeavor, but I'm an artist, a coffee shop. It's not very original in that sense, but when there were zoning issues with the location, I started speaking at the community board. I got involved. A community member paid for my first pop-up. So that I was able to give free coffee.
So there is a sense of community
yes,
around it, and a sense of
it
hopefully
grew
in
to
the
that.
long run, right?
It grew to that.
Let's just talk specifically about Morris Perk. So Morris Perk is, oh my goodness, that smells wonderful. How did you learn to brew? Do you grow the beans? What do you do? Like, if I were to start a coffee business, I would probably go to one of the chains, and I don't want to mention them tonight. I would go to one of the chains and buy coffee. But you created how do you do that? What do you do?
Well, I did a 5K.
Oh, it smells great. I'm just going to sit here like this. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I did a 5K run a few years back at the Bronx Zoo, and Serini Coffee Serini Coffee's on Arthur Avenue. They provided the coffee for the event, and I thought it was delicious. Mm-hmm. So when I went to source my coffee, I went local.
You started with them?
I started with them. I went and spoke with them, and garnered a little deal so that I could get a little bit of a break on the blend. And
do you change the blend in any way?
I have not changed. I have not modified the blend.
Michael Maxnabi, our executive director, is apparently the biggest fan. I wasn't aware of it. He came in. He says, you're gonna have Lovey here. I gotta have some Morris Perk. Are we ready for Gary to have a
absolutely?
Have a look here?
How do you drink your coffee?
Like this, with a little milk, if that's possible.
Sure.
So we're doing iced coffee today. We didn't. Now, when you go out, do you bring warm coffee places?
Sometimes, yes, especially when it's cold out. I also do cider. I do limeade when it's hot. I try to offer something for non-coffee drinkers at most events.
Okay.
But it depends on the event.
What kinds of events? You can talk while you're doing it.
Sure.
Right? What kinds of events do you go to and have you been at? Now, you were in a restaurant at one point,
yes,
too.
I had a longer-term pop-up at Charlie's Bar and Kitchen down on Lincoln Avenue.
Okay.
So I popped up in the mornings. There wasn't a lot of foot traffic. It's a lot of a lot more traffic going over the 3rd Avenue Bridge than there was foot
One of
traffic.
those people standing on the bridge.
Yes.
Would you like to buy my coffee?
I almost was. So I was there for a while, but it was hard to build up
You know,
some
I should have
steam.
really had you do it in my special Bronx
Well, I
Talk
can mix
cup.
it in there.
Can you? Oh,
Yes,
great.
it needs
Are
a
we
little
mixing?
stir.
What are you doing? I want to know what she's doing.
I'm using cold brew coffee, so it's a
Okay.
concentrate. Cold
Okay.
brew process takes out a lot of the acidity in coffee,
Right?
and it takes about almost 70% of the acidity out, so it's very smooth. And
Okay.
that's not sweetened. I don't know if you take it sweetened. You
I do
should
not.
Try. Okay.
All right, so here we go. Ladies and I should Morris Perk. Actually, that's very good.
It's very smooth. A lot of non-coffee drinkers
Well, you know what's interesting?
enjoy it.
I mean, you know, people who really like coffee. It's smooth, but it is coffee.
Yes. You can drink it a little stronger because it is so smooth, and it's a
now
concentrate.
I'll be up for about, till 3 weeks from next Thursday. But
The cold brew has a significantly less caffeine than regular
Is that
brewed
true?
coffee. Yes.
I never knew.
Yes. I don't know the percentage on the less caffeine, but it definitely has less of a kick.
Okay,
because
so
of
in
the
addition
acidity.
so this is just the regular blend or something?
Yes,
The
it's a
regular
Colombian Central American blend.
Morris Perk. And then what else did you say now did you bring samples of anything else?
I brought a sample of the brew, hot brewed and iced. And you can definitely taste the difference of the acidity in between.
Well, I promised my viewers a taste test. We're going to test the coffee. So let's try them
Sure.
all. And then I'm going to ask some of the people who are around the studio here. I always say we have a cast of thousands. I already see some volunteers over there. So, all right, so now this is a different one.
Yes, this is the same. It's the same blend of coffee, but it's brewed a different way. It's
All right.
regular, brewed,
This is
hot
good.
brewed coffee.
You know what? We do debates on this show. We talk about education. We talk about, you see, everybody's coming around. They all like big talk. You hang out. I'm going to call you when it's your turn. I'm not there yet.
So you can taste this. It definitely has, it has more acidity. And
what is this now
It's
compared to?
regular brewed coffee. So it was brewed hot and then refrigerated.
I see, as opposed to this, which is
Yes,
designed
the cold
as-
brew is you use a big filtered bag, and it takes a little more coffee.
This is
blend
better.
it, yes.
If this were hot, I probably would appreciate it a
Yes.
little more. Okay. So you don't mind if I put this one aside? No. Okay. Well, I'm enjoying this. For folks who don't know, people who've been on the show, they know that I drink water during the show, but this is the first time I drink coffee, and all that caffeine is going to make me even much more annoying than I usually am. All right. So,
Oh, no.
So who's coming up? Who's coming up? Who's coming? Which one of you guys is coming up? No, they're all saying no. No, come on. Our director, Shirley, this is my biggest problem. Shirley, ladies and gentlemen, the great Shirley Arrieta,
I'll definitely
former
make
Lehman
coffee.
College Lightning,
Sweetened?
who's my wonderful director. And what are you getting?
She's getting it sweetened. This is sugar water.
Sweetened. Now, if you're here, what happens to our show? It's
over
chaos.
There you go.
Anything for you, Gary.
There you go. So wait, what are you having there?
She's having the cold brew.
The cold brew.
Oh,
Yes.
I love iced coffee.
Now, have you had? Wait, do you have to go near me to hear me?
We're good. We're good.
Okay.
I'm an avid coffee drinker. I do Dunkin'. I do Starbucks. I've had this press before, and I love it. It's
Really, you've had
exceptional.
Morris Perk.
Yes.
Where was that?
Here.
Oh, here on this in the studio.
Oh, no problem.
All right, there we go.
This
All
is
right,
amazing. Thank you. Cheers. Have a great show.
have a great show. If you're out here, we're not having a show. If you're out here, it's just us. Helen, are you next? Who's next? You don't want to come? Oh yeah, Helen's so shy. I'm going to give applause. These are the people who work on my show, folks, and we never have a chance to have them on TV. Shirley, there she goes. Put Helen on TV. And there you go. No, what did you get? Oh, you're making a mess here. Do we have napkins?
Thank you. It's very good.
It's very good. Now, are you a coffee drinker?
Yes.
And you also had Morris Perk?
Yes.
Yes,
Here.
she had- and
I've
you
seen
had
her
it.
out in the community.
Like
Yes.
where?
At
It was an animal rescue
At an
event.
animal rescue
I was serving
event.
hot.
Animal
Yes.
rescue event.
She's
I was serving
everywhere
hot.
in the Bronx.
And what
community
do
events all
the
time.
animals drink? No, they go for the warm brew. I'm
It
sure.
was freezing that day, so we had
Really?
hot coffee and apple and hot
All right.
cider.
So you okay?
Yes.
All right.
Cheers.
Hey, this is the great Helen Greenberg who works on the show and keeps me going. Thank you so much.
you.
All my peeps. All right, now what about these? See, these folks I don't know. Are you gonna? You want a cup? Of course.
How do you drink
I don't
it?
even know her name. Doesn't matter to me. I love all my peeps. All my peeps here. Come on around.
How do you
Come on
drink
around.
your coffee?
Your
Sugar?
name. First,
Yes.
you have to say your name.
Nancy.
Nancy, ladies and gentlemen, it's Nancy who does the camera that's over here. That's the one that gets my bald spot back there. Good job. Thank you so much for the work you do. And now, what are you drinking?
The cold brew.
Everybody's getting the cold brew.
Yeah, everybody's
today.
getting the cold brew.
It really does.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're
In
welcome.
the heat of summer. Now, this is just a stir.
Yes.
There you go.
Cheers.
Now, if you're here, then again, the whole show is going to beans.
It's good, right?
That's good.
Okay. Thank
All right.
You're welcome.
We're doing good. Anybody else here for coffee? No? Anybody else? This is your chance. You know, now our floor manager, BronxNet Television is operated by some wonderful young people, and I love them dearly. They keep me going, but sometimes they're very shy. So our stage, I don't even know your name because you don't work my show that often. Your name is? Madi. Spelled?
M-A-R-I.
Right, that's how I thought. But Madi doesn't want to come over here. All right, she's too shy. All right, very good. So, how often are you? I'm keeping. Can I keep this?
Absolutely.
This is it's metal, but it won't.
I keep
stick
them
on
on my car and people take them off. And,
Oh, there you go. How often do you go out and about in the community?
I have an event about once a week. I've done events at the Bronx Museum. I did a tea tasting at a yoga studio. You know, whatever I can come up with, or people will call me.
More than one a day, or is it too much? And you work alone. You don't have like a.
I don't. Yes,
If you were lucky like me, you could have these wonderful young people working with you. Wouldn't that be great?
that would. I generally work alone. I drive a smart car, so it's usually full of coffee equipment, and I can't.
It must smell
I can't-
great in there, right?
I can't fit any help usually, but
Right.
on larger events I have had help. And one of them was an intern that I worked with at Van Cortlandt Park, another place where I've done events.
You know, as I told you previously, I wanted to make this light, and it's certainly been light and fun. But on a serious note, what are the issues for somebody who is starting a business, wants to do what you're doing? I mean, there are some very obvious things, I would suppose, but what have you encountered that maybe you say, gee, I didn't realize that was going to be the case?
It's almost every day.
Such as, well, give us an example. Because
well-
I want to do two things. One is I want to encourage people to do something like this. Maybe this is a great opportunity to think about, but also to understand what is involved and what you might encounter.
It's a lot more steps than I thought, but I learn every day. You got to use your brain in all directions, unlike a regular job, so to speak. But I've taken a lot of small business classes and piecemealing them together to form a company and to get a business plan together. And but some of the problems have been finances. Financially.
Some of the problems, I'm
Most
guessing
of the
that
problem,
would be a pretty big one.
especially for a restaurant. If you're under 2 years old as a restaurant, nobody wants to lend you money. And even through SBA, they want you to have a very large down payment to get a loan. So the longer I've done this, the less money I had in savings, and the less I was able to borrow. I've done small loans. I did a Kiva Zip program to buy some supplies. And Kiva Zip is, zero interest, and you basically have friends support you to help you get through, but you pay them back.
So maybe this is an unanswerable question. So what is the ultimate answer? I mean, as we all, I think, believe in the American spirit and the American dream, that with your hard work and with your ingenuity, you'll see your way through. But what are the steps to get out of kind of one level and move it to the next level?
That's where I'm stuck. That's definitely
I'm so
where
sorry.
I'm stuck.
That's what I said. It may be somewhat unanswerable.
Yes. Yeah. I just keep doing what I'm doing and making sure that I'm available for any opportunities.
Right.
And
so keep going as long as you can. You know what? We have a couple of things to show. So we have a full page about there's something the SBA is running, which you said you were going to participate in. So let's put that up and talk about what that might be, because that not only would be an opportunity for Lovey Pignata and he gives a free plug for Morris Perk, but also for anybody interested. So, Dahlia, can we put that full page and that info up on the screen? That is something coming up at Lehman College. There it is. On September 28th, that's a Monday, in the morning, so you can still go home and watch this Bronx Talk at night, which is on the Lehman College campus in the Music Building, and that's a workshop specifically designed for access to capital. How do those things work, or might that work for someone like you or anybody who wants to, says, look, I have a space, I have a product, I want to put it together. What is that process? Somebody just gives you a loan?
Hopefully, but mostly, like I said, for a restaurant, it's very difficult to borrow money because of the failure rate of restaurants.
I see. And they would view this as being a restaurant.
Absolutely, yes. Even if it's not a full restaurant, it's categorized.
Have you assessed what it would cost to do what you want to do?
I'm looking for an architect. Recently, I was at the neighborhood association meeting where a man who remembers the Abrams luncheonette told me about an architect.
By the way, Dahlia, there are some photographs, right? Let's just throw some. We have some pictures. We can just throw them up there while you're talking.
So he gave me a name of a local architect. And so I'm hoping that I'll get a layout of what I need to do so that I can get an actual cost. So I don't even have a real hard number.
Oh, there's a nice picture. Look what that is.
Ah.
There you go.
He was sniffing my coffee at an event, so I asked him if he would take a picture with me.
Yeah, for folks who don't know, that was Grandmaster Melly Mel. Oh, the Bronx Museum.
Yes.
And I've got the cup here on the set. What is the deal or the relationship with the Bronx Museum?
The Bronx Museum found me through social media and invited me, and I did an event there for a nonprofit that was using the space. So they started a relationship with me, asking me to serve coffee alongside their bar so that they had an option for a non-alcoholic drink. And they recently opened a cafe. It opened this week. Which
we have all read about.
Yes, and they'll be serving Morris Perk coffee there. They also sell my coffee in the gift shop. They've done that for
And they've done that for a little while. So that is a little bit of a stable situation for you.
Yes, that's nice. It's nice to, for somebody else to serve the coffee. And
all right, aside from the possibility of having your own space, have you thought about other places where you could be located?
Yes.
Like what kinds of places would that be? Actually, off camera, I have some ideas I'm going to tell you about.
Okay. Other restaurants, now that that's happened, and I never thought of that as a stream of revenue because it is, I make more money when I brew it and sell it that way. But if, you always have to be liquid in small business and do what you need to do. But I think if other places can carry my coffee and sell my coffee, because I've made a little bit of a name for myself in the Bronx.
Right. And you know what? If you do that, then everybody's talking about it, or, they say, oh, do you have this blend or whatever, and then one thing feeds
yes.
off
That's
the
how the
other.
whole journey's been. It never went the way I wanted it to, but I don't think I'd want to plan it any differently than it happened. It's really unfolded in a new way.
Do you think about right now in terms of volume, in terms of how much coffee you have to brew and you do that like in your apartment?
Yes.
Like how much do you brew every day, every week?
The cold brew is great because you can I brew 5 pounds at a time, which is about 1.5 gallons of concentrate. So that makes a few gallons of coffee, and it keeps for up to 3 weeks, which is another nice part of the cold brew.
Your apartment must be just number one. It smells like this wonderful bag.
It smells wonderful. It's a bit of a coffee meth lab. So
Really?
I have equipment everywhere.
and you must be awake all the day. Now, do you drink coffee? I should have asked that at the outset.
Absolutely.
You
yes,
do?
Absolutely. That's that was part of the business, is that it was something that I loved and that I could stand behind, and definitely I drink a good share of coffee.
Well, I do want to recommend that. I've heard about this wonderful coffee called Morris Perk. You might want to try it. To me, the whole process is fascinating, and what I introduced the program with is the idea that here's a Bronx person with a really interesting concept, which frankly helps the Bronx. We promote the Bronx and everything else. And what advice would you give for somebody who foolishly is looking at us and says, you know what? I want to be a baker, and I always wanted to, make my own line of cheesecakes or cookies or something, or any other product that I'm not thinking about right now, and says, I've always wanted to do it. What advice do you give on the outset? Number one, would you tell them no 1,000 times no, or would you encourage them? And if so, how do you get it started and go through the steps, so even get to the point now where you get on TV to promote your thing?
Absolutely. It's a long journey, but it's a great process. Great process if that's your dream. If you're not that excited about it, I don't think you're going to get very far.
That's a very good point.
Yes, and you have to be able to deal with the failures because they're happening. They happen at a rapid rate sometimes.
Right. You went to that restaurant and that had great hopes, and it just didn't work out.
It just didn't work.
Nothing negative about it. It just didn't work out.
And there's been a few collaborations where I'll go back and work with people again and just try new collaborations. And I like working with different people, and it's part of my social life. Any event that I would have attended as an individual, I can now almost always attend as a business, which,
that's interesting.
It's very
well. Does that ruin
it's very
it?
much my life.
I know there are times that I get invited to an event because they want me to speak or something, and not that it ruins it, but it changes as opposed to I'm just going there to attend. So does it? But you don't mind because
no, I love
like,
it. I love that I can be a part
room.
of it. I'm doing an international coastal cleanup with the Bronx River Alliance. I do a lot of events with them. That's one of my upcoming events.
Are you booked all the time? I mean, are like 5 days and 7 days a week? Or for somebody who, and what I'm really, there's the Twitter, and if for somebody who, would say, well, you know what, if I'm going to have coffee served at my event or from a bar mitzvah or a wedding or whatever it is.
Yes, I'm trying to introduce that idea as sort of an add-on. If you're going to pay a few $1,000s for a cake, why not pay a few $100s and have
really
step
good coffee.
up the coffee.
Everybody would love it. Bronx coffee.
Yes.
You know what? I'm making a deal with you right now. I'm going to host my family's Hanukkah party, and we're going to serve Morris Perk.
Excellent.
How about that?
I love
All
that.
right?
I love that.
I mean, this is just thinking about it right now, and I have some other ideas and events and things that you can go to. What? How do people get to you? What do they do?
They can go to my website, morrisperk.com.
morrisperk.com.
And they can reach me at Gmail, morrisperk@gmail.com, or by phone. My phone number's on the website.
Right. Or you can just get to me at BronxTalk, and they put some of the contact info on the screen. Lovey, good luck.
Thank you.
And I just think it's great. I just think that Bronx people deserve, and you got a good idea. You got a great product. Gary is going to be awake for days now drinking this. It's wonderful, and that's what we want. More, they yelling at me to wrap it up. That's because they're all loopy on the caffeine from the coffee they drink. Anyway, listen, thank you so much, Lovey.
You.
Good luck with Morris Perk.
Thank you.
And we always invite people to write in. And so on our program that we did last week about chronic absenteeism, a couple of folks posted on Facebook. This came from Romano R. on Facebook, and he said people cannot work to ensure their children attend school with no place to live. People need stable housing, he said. And then Jose R. on Facebook said it's a challenge, but instead we should see this as an improvement opportunity. And so we thank those folks for writing in. And if you have further questions or comments on anything you heard on tonight's show or anything going on in the Bronx, or you want a nice cup of coffee, then email about it, tell us about it. And we'll see you next week, our 1000th show next week. The borough president will be our guest. Good.